Urban legends have been a part of growing up for generations. Some stories are meant to entertain us, others teach us a lesson, but most are just spooky and keep us up at night. They are so strange, almost unimaginable, but we still search for the origins and try to explain them. Michigan has no shortage of these creepy urban legends, and today we are looking into 10 of them. But be warned, you may have trouble getting to sleep tonight. In Algoma Township, on an isolated dirt road, sits a bridge perched just a few feet above Cedar Creek. This lonely bridge has become the setting for a legend that has terrified West Michiganders for years. The legend says that sometime in the late 1800s, a preacher named Eli Frisk lured 7 children from their homes and brought them deep into the woods to Cedar Creek. He led the children against their will, driven by a demonic song. Frisk took the children to Hell's Bridge and one by one murdered them, throwing their bodies over the bridge into the creek. When confronted by the parents, Frisk claimed that he was possessed by a demon. The parents attempted to hang him at the very spot where he killed the children, but the rope snapped and Frisk was swept away by the water. Today, there are still reports that if you go out to the isolated road to Hell's Bridge at midnight, you can hear the devil himself laughing. Other reports say you can hear children crying mixed with the evil laughter. Imagine you're driving down Strasbourg Street around 2 a.m. As you approach a stop sign, you realize just how isolated and eerily quiet everything is. You look to your left and you notice a small girl standing there. You start to feel uneasy and even a little worried as she just stares at you. Something is just not right. Why would a child be out this late at night and alone? You turn back around looking out the front windshield when suddenly you hear a knock-knock on your driver's side window. Startled, you look to where the noise came from. There, looking in your window, is the same little girl with sad, deep-set, hollowed eyes. This tale of the ghostly little girl on Strasbourg Road has been circulating since the 1940s. Legends say the little girl was killed on the road and is still looking for the driver who killed her. Sometime in the 1800s in Adam, Michigan, there was a young married woman who was having an affair. She would meet her lover in the wooded area around the cemetery on 2 Mile Road. Somehow her husband found out about the affair and followed her one night. In a fit of jealous rage, the husband murdered his wife right there. He then diverted his attention to the lover, and they fought until they both were dead. The Ada Witch is reported to haunt several areas: Findlay Cemetery, where she was supposed to be buried, Honey Creek Road, where her body was found, and Seedman Park, where she was murdered. She is described as being a beautiful, dark-haired woman wearing a white dress. She has also been reported to be a disfigured woman, bearing the injuries inflicted by her husband. Other activity reported includes a bluish-green mist, orbs, phantom footsteps, the sounds of a woman crying, shrieks, and the sounds of a struggle. People have also reported being touched or tapped on the shoulder. Old Presque Light was built in 1840 to help guide ships traveling between the Straits of Mackinac and Lake Huron, but quickly deteriorated. Within 30 years, it was replaced by the new Presque Light a little further north and is still in operation today. In 1977, Old Presque Light was refurbished into a museum, and George and Lorraine Paris were hired as caretakers. George loved his role so much that he didn't want to leave, even after his death in 1991. In 1992, Lorraine saw the lighthouse fully lit, even though all the wiring had either been disconnected or removed for decades. Since then, sailors, pilots, and people from across the harbor have reported seeing the yellow glow long after the bulb was removed. Many people have also reported to see a figure in the lantern room and experienced mysterious, helpful coincidences around the lighthouse. The Coast Guard does not have an official explanation, but many people believe it is George, still enjoying the lighthouse while helping visitors from the other side. Somewhere between the Upper Peninsula and Green Bay is a small chain of islands where the historic and mysterious shipwreck of the ship Le Griffon is said to be. Le Griffon was built by Robert de La Salle in 1679 and is said to have been a work of art, featuring a majestic griffin, half lion and half eagle figurehead on its bow and an eagle on its stern. On the ship's maiden voyage, it is said to have been loaded to the brim with valuable furs and other goods. Unfortunately, on its return trip, something happened, and the ship vanished. Many assumed that Le Griffon was lost during a storm not long after leaving port, while others say that the ship was boarded and burned by rival fur traders or local Native Americans who were threatened by La Salle's westward expansion plans. La Salle himself believed that the crew had been convinced to mutiny by an untrustworthy pirate and that they made off with the cargo before sinking the ship. Today, it is still a mystery as to what happened and where the ship might be. Since Le Griffon's disappearance in 1679, people have reported seeing her ghost gliding silently along the northern waters of Lake Michigan. Mary McNulty was born on September 5, 1884, to Robert and Elizabeth McNulty. In the summer of 1882, Mary fled from Jackson with her mother and sisters to escape a deadly outbreak of diphtheria and typhoid fever. Unfortunately, while they were gone, Mary suffered from an inflammation of the tissue around her stomach, most likely caused by a ruptured appendix. She died on July 18th, and the family returned to Jackson to bury 7-year-old Mary at Oak Cemetery. That night, Mary's mother woke up screaming, insisting her daughter had been buried alive. To help ease Elizabeth's fears, Robert had the grave reopened. To everyone's dismay, Elizabeth was right. There were claw marks inside of the casket. Little Mary had indeed been buried alive and furiously tried to escape. Little Mary's grave can still be viewed at Hillcrest Memorial Gardens, formerly Oak Cemetery. Visitors have reported to hear the sounds of a child crying and fingernails scratching at wood. It has also been reported that little Mary's spirit can be seen hovering over her grave like an angel. Thought to be half man, half dog, Dogman is known for his ability to walk on 2 legs. The head has been compared to a ferocious hound. It is also reported to have yellow eyes and paws 6 inches long and 6 inches wide. Over the centuries, there have been over 500 reports of Dogman. The first reports come from lumberjacks in Westford County. Believing it to be some sort of wolf, they decided to chase it off of their worksite. When they had it cornered, the creature raised up on its back legs and stood like a human. This scared the lumberjacks, and they ran back to headquarters and reported it to their boss. Another report comes from 1938 that says a teenage boy was out hunting in Paris, Michigan, when he was approached by a pack of wolves. He shot his rifle to scare them off. All of the wolves ran, but one, the largest one. The beast stood up on its hind legs and stared directly at the teenager. The boy then raised his gun and stood eye to eye with the creature. Suddenly, it returned to 4 legs and ran off into the forest. In 1986, Ray Greenway saw a pair of yellow eyes, but they were not close to the ground like you would expect from a four-legged animal. They were about 6 feet above the ground. Out of nowhere, the creature made a break for him and jumped clear across the road into the forest, never to be seen by Ray again. There is something forlorn and desolate about Belle Isle. It seems to be lost in time, with historic relics everywhere, desperate to fit into the current time. But the ghost of the past lingers and won't let Belle Isle move on and become one with the present. The island is tragic yet beautiful, with a sense of unease that hangs in the air. There have been many deaths connected with this island. The first legend attached to the island is an old Ottawa legend about a chief and his daughter. Chief Sleeping Bear had a daughter who was so beautiful, and to keep her safe from men, he hid her in a covered boat on the Detroit River. One day when the chief went to bring her food, the wind saw her beauty. Wanting to see more of the girl, the wind blew off the boat cover, but it blew too hard and the ties snapped and the boat floated away. The keeper of the water gate saw the maiden and pulled her to shore, where he took her to his wigwam to claim her for his own. The wind saw this and they were not happy. They beat him until he died. The winds returned the maiden to her father and begged him not to keep her from their sight. So the chief put his daughter on a remote island where she could run free. To protect her, the chief called upon the Great Spirit to guard his daughter by surrounding the islands with snakes, so no one could enter. So charmed by the maiden's beauty, the snakes began to worship her as a goddess. The Great Spirit saw this and made her immortal, so she could rule the island for eternity. Some lucky visitors to Island can still catch a glimpse of the beautiful native girl dancing in the wind. Some say that if you park your car on the island by the woods, you should wait in your car for the snake goddess to call you. She will beckon you to follow her into the woods. Another legend attached to Belle Isle is that of a young bride who was murdered on her wedding night by her husband. Now her ghost is said to wander the island full of despair. Some legends claim the lady in white is an old woman who appears by the bridges, and many claim she is the mother of the bride who was murdered. Some versions claim that the lady in white is the beautiful maiden who became the snake goddess. The Paulding Light, also called Lights of Paulding or Dog Meadow Lights, is the mysterious light that appears in Paulding, Michigan. The first recorded sighting of the light was in 1966 by a group of teenagers. Since then, there have been many reports of the light, which appears on a nightly basis. There are many legends attached to the Paulding Light, but the most popular legends are that of the death of a railroad brakeman. Legends say that there was once railroad tracks in the valley, and the light is the lantern of a brakeman who was killed while trying to stop an oncoming train from running into railway cars stopped on the tracks. Some of the other legends of the light is that it's the ghost of a mail carrier, and another legend is that it's the ghost of an Indian dancing on the power lines that run through the valley. The final legend says that it's the grandparents looking for a lost grandchild with a lantern that needs constant relighting. At a beach along Lake Superior, on the south side of the Keweenaw Peninsula, is a gorgeous beach that is more than what you see. A Native American legend says that a woman lost her love to Lake Superior. So heartbroken, she spent the rest of her life crying on the beach. It is said that the white sands still call to him today. Legends say you can awaken the woman's musical cry by pressing down on the sand with your palm. You can also make it bark by hitting the sand. This only works if you're on the beach at Bay de Grise. If the sand is removed, it loses its musical properties.